Hello and welcome to Newsround, the recap of stories that made headlines during the week. The top stories. President Tinubu presents 58.18 trillion naira 2026 budget proposal to the National Assembly for approval. Unveils new security policy labeling all armed non-state actors as terrorists. U.S. government announces new partial travel restrictions on Nigeria, other countries, citing security concerns, vetting challenges, and insufficient information sharing. President Tinubu praises late President Muhammadu Buhari as a model of integrity and public service as official biography in honor of the late president is launched. At least 15 people were killed at the beginning of the week in Palm Beach, Australia, including a father and son. That's Newsround in View. Welcome once again. One of the high points of the week was President Bola Tinubu's presentation of a 58.18 trillion naira 2026 appropriation bill to a joint sitting of the National Assembly, where he announced a major security policy that classifies all non-state armed actors operating outside government authority as terrorists. The president said the 2026 budget, themed budget of consolidation, renewed resilience, and shared prosperity, represents a crucial stage in his administration's reform drive.
President Bola Tinubu, represented by the Vice President Kashim Shettima, began the day with an emergency Federal Executive Council meeting, and at the core of that meeting is the 2026 appropriation bill, reviewed upwards from 54.5 trillion naira to 58.1 trillion naira. President Bola Tinubu, at exactly 3 p.m., proceeded to the National Assembly with the prepared budget, arriving at the Green Chamber to a joint sitting of the National Assembly. The Vice President, governors, cabinet members, among others, are also present.
The National Assembly stands ready to work with you. We are working with you to strengthen the works that you are doing, to refine what must change, and to ensure that every naira appropriated serves the people who earn it. Only one concern, Mr. President. As we direct the security agencies to withdraw policemen from critical areas, we plead with the President for a review of the decision.
President Tinubu mounts the podium and assertively opens his speech by addressing the critical challenge of multiple budgets.
We are terminating the habit of running 3 budgets on one inflow. By March 31st, 2026, all capital liabilities from previous years will be fully funded and closed. From April, Nigeria operates on a single budget, backed by a single revenue cycle. No overlaps, no excuses, no rollovers culture.
Key aggregates of the budget include expected total revenue pegged at 34.33 trillion naira, projected total expenditure at 58.18 trillion naira, including 15.52 trillion naira for debt servicing, recurrent non-debt expenditure at 15.25 trillion naira, capital expenditure at 26.08 trillion naira, with a deficit of 23.85 trillion naira, representing 4.28% of the GDP.
Let me be clear. 2026 will be a year of stronger discipline in budget execution. I have issued directives to the Honorable Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, the Honorable Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, the Accountant General of the Federation, and the Director General of the Budget Office of the Federation to ensure that the 2026 budget is implemented strictly in line with appropriated details and timelines.
The president also announced that defense and security will take the largest share of priority spending, gulping 5.41 trillion naira in the latest budget.
We will usher in a new era of criminal justice. We will show no mercy, I repeat. Under this new architecture, any armed group or gun-wielding non-state actors operating outside the state authority will be regarded as terrorists. Bandits, militia, armed gangs, armed robbers, violent cults, forest-based armed groups, and foreign-linked mercenaries will all be targeted. We will go after all those who perpetrated violence for political or sectarian ends, along with those who finance and facilitate their evil schemes.
Other key provisions in the budget include 3.56 trillion naira for infrastructure, 3.52 trillion for education, and 2.48 trillion naira allocated to the health sector. The president then presents the 58.1 trillion naira 2026 budget.
The National Assembly received the 2026 appropriation bill with confidence that the lessons of 2025 have been fully internalized and that this budget is designed to translate reform into tangible progress for Nigerians.
President Tinubu has also pledged that beyond prioritizing food security in 2026, his administration will be guided by three major commitments, including improved revenue mobilization, smarter spending on priority projects, and stronger accountability aimed at rebuilding public trust. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
And the week unfolded with the U.S. government announcing major changes to its immigration policy, which takes effect on January the 1st, 2026, in which several African countries will be officially barred, either fully or partially, from traveling to the U.S. as President Donald Trump's administration expands its immigration travel list. Nigeria has been added to the expanded list of countries partially restricted from travel. Others include Angola, Benin, Côte d'Ivoire, Gabon, the Gambia, Malawi, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Tanzania, Senegal, and Mauritania. The White House says the ban is intended to protect the security of the United States. On its website, the Trump administration says Nigeria is on the list because of radical Islamic terrorist groups such as Boko Haram and the Islamic State freely operating in certain parts of the country, which, according to them, create substantial screening and vetting difficulties. Another reason for the ban on many of these countries is the overstay of visas. The White House states that Nigeria had a B1, B2 visa overstay rate of 5.56% and an FM and J visa overstay rate of 11.90%. Meanwhile, full entry restrictions are being imposed on citizens from Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, South Sudan, and Syria, as well as Palestinian Authority passport holders. And the announcement of the U.S. partial visa ban on Nigeria has stirred conversation among Nigerians in the country and in the United States. While a lot of uncertainty hangs in the balance about its implementation, Nigerians are looking forward to more clarity from the Trump government in the coming days.
From January 1st, Nigerians headed to the United States will or will not experience difficulty entering the country. That's because of the U.S. partial visa ban imposed on Nigeria. The new restriction bars entry for Nigerians seeking to enter the U.S. as green card holders or on B1, B2, B1B2, F, M, and J visas. This was contained in a proclamation by the White House late Tuesday evening. The U.S. highlighted the operations of radical Islamist groups in Nigeria, the persistent security crisis, and visa overstay as reasons for its decision. There are over 400,000 Nigerians in the United States, a large chunk of them found in America's healthcare sector. President of the Nigerian Physicians Advocacy Group, Dr. Susan Ediowe, says the partial ban upsets not just travel plans for many Nigerians in the U.S., but also the status of those living in the United States.
I think there's a lot of disappointment and a lot of anxiety about this issue. I think some of the disappointment, especially within the United States from the Nigerians who are here, is the fact that as a community, we contribute so much to this country. You know, a physician organization, a physician myself, some studies show that over 52% or more of Black physicians in the United States are Nigerian. Nigerian-born Americans who are here, over 65% of them are bachelor degree holders. The Nigerian American household has over, I don't remember the exact percentage, but higher median home income than the United States average. We are a very hardworking and highly educated workforce. So the disappointment is, it's palpable because it's like, you know, well, what else do we have to do? And that's a real concern.
Council member, Economic Summit Group, Dr. Gbenga Adeoye, says the partial ban depicts American economic interests, which President Donald Trump is trying to protect.
The U.S. restriction on 15 additional countries on this Proclamation 10949 is basically to protect the United States. But again, one cannot rule out the fact that the U.S. is after something, and that is economic collaboration.
President Trump's partial ban is the culmination of a change of visa policy towards Nigeria. In early July, the Department of State reduced visa validity parameters for many non-immigrant visas issued after that date to 3 months and only single entry. A recent designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern last month was a reflection of the U.S. perception of Nigeria's security challenges. The Nigerian federal government has been working with American officials to deal with the challenges. They're hoping for good success along the way. Amarachi Ubani, Channels Television News.
On Thursday, members of the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, and their civil society allies staged a protest in the Federal Capital Territory, where they demanded immediate solutions to the rising security challenges across the country. The Abuja protest was led by the NLC president, Mr. Joe Ajaero, who decried the deteriorating security situation in the country, especially as workers and students become regular victims of the menace.
The president of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Mr. Joe Ajaero, and his civil society allies are leading this protest in Abuja. After this rallying charge by the NLC president, he addresses journalists on their core demands for the federal government.
This protest is to call attention on the seriousness of both financial and fiscal insecurity. And you can see from him even agreeing to talk with us yesterday, is getting momentum. And as we progress, the awareness and consciousness will be created. So I don't see why, people would try to demarcate themselves, not the NLC.
Around the NLC secretariat, there is heavy deployment of security personnel. Some of the civil society allies also speak on their reasons for joining the protest.
You tell me which region of Nigeria is safe? None. If you go to the southeast, it's unsafe. You go to the southwest, it's unsafe. You go to the northwest, it's completely under siege. You go to the northeast, it's completely been taken over. In terms of even territory, Nigeria has lost almost 30% of its territory to non-state actors. It looks like everything has broken down irretrievably. And we have a duty to keep conscientizing and mobilizing Nigerian people.
After about 2 hours of waiting for instructions from their leaders, the Deputy General Secretary of the NLC emerged and organized the workers for the protest.
While our leaders are still out there dialoguing.
As the protesters file out of their secretariat, they were guided by armed security operatives. After about a 10-minute walk from the NLC secretariat, the protesting workers are stopped by operatives from the police, Civil Defense Corps and the Army, who had barricaded the road, forcing the protesters to return to their secretariat. The Nigeria Labour Congress had last week announced its decision to embark on a nationwide protest to demand the government's decisive action to address the growing insecurity across the country, which has manifested in the form of kidnappings, banditry, and terrorism.
When News Round returns, President Tinubu charges the political elite to keep politics at bay and pursue a results-driven approach to governance. That's coming after the break. Join us again.
Our website, channelstv.com, has more information on our top stories and others. Subscribe and watch Channels Television's live stream on YouTube and other social media platforms using your mobile device browser, or download the Channels TV app for Android and iOS devices from their respective stores. You can also watch us via your smart TV platforms on Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, and Roku. Channels Television, ubiquitous.
Welcome back. As the National Assembly prepared to close the week, a disturbing revelation came from a member of the House of Representatives, Honorable Abdulsamad Dasuki, who raised the alarm that the new tax law signed by President Bola Tinubu is different from what was passed by the National Assembly. Honorable Dasuki raised this during plenary, stating that the gazetted copy of the new tax laws in circulation differs in some clauses from the harmonized version passed by both chambers of the National Assembly.
The House of Representatives begins with a consideration of the medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper received from President Bola Tinubu 48 hours ago. Interestingly, the process is cut short due to concerns raised on some of the parameters proposed in the report, which would affect revenue generation for the 2026 budget.
We want to move that we will step down to allow us to review and come back to you with the report.
Moving on, a matter of privilege is raised by a lawmaker concerning the new tax laws.
We passed the tax laws on this floor, and Mr. Speaker, I took my time in the last 3 days to look at the gazetted pass copy, the vote and proceedings of the House of Representatives, and also went an extra mile to look at the vote and proceedings of the Senate of what was harmonized. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, what I passed on this floor is not what is gazetted. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I have all the copies, but I'm coming under privilege because I was here, I gave my vote, and it was counted, and I'm seeing something completely different.
Your observation is noted and action will be taken. I assure you that.
The House then turns its attention to the much-anticipated Electoral Act amendment. Concerns are raised on several proposals, one of which deals with disqualification of candidates.
Some people do not want to participate in a fair play election. They will prepare themselves and to seize election in the court. So we have to be very, very careful. So my suggestion, Mr. Speaker, when a court find out that a candidate is being disqualified, this matter should be referred to INEC to conduct election in that particular area rather than to give the court power to determine who becomes second.
The duty of care is owed by the political party. And that duty of care is to be diligent in following the guidelines as provided by INEC in the screening of their candidates. Any attempt to go outside the parameters of that duty should be punishable. If not so, we'll go in a circle of repeated incompetence being recycled over and over again, and that will cost INEC more. 29 has carried.
Another clause seeking to address concerns around accompanying a voter into the voter compartment also receives mixed reactions from the House.
My chairman, I'm saying that there should be a sanction, because when you go through this, no sanction was written for whoever that led the physically impaired person, maybe the blind man or anybody that is not okay to cast his or her vote.
If I have a political party member whom I know will vote for me and is vulnerable, and he has chosen me as a polling agent, why should the law restrict me in assisting my party member from voting me?
No, there is a level to every assistance.
No, Mr.
Where somebody is not accompanied and the person is vulnerable, the commission in two will take reasonable steps to make sure you are accorded such assistance.
This amendment is to exclude certain category of people who are capable of influencing the vote of that person they are to hate.
Subsequently, the House maintains the clause that no political party agent, candidate or party official shall be permitted to accompany a voter into the voting compartment. Other amendments approved so far include that the presiding officer shall electronically transmit the results from each polling unit to the IRF portal in real time. Also approved is the compulsory use of national identity number for voter registration, as well as 10 years imprisonment without option of fine of electoral officers who willfully violate certain provisions of the Electoral Act. The consideration process was subsequently halted to resume the following day. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
And earlier in the week, President Bola Tinubu charged the political elite to keep politics at bay and let governance produce results. The president, who spoke at the presentation of a book in honor of former President Muhammadu Buhari, which held in Abuja, praised the legacies of his predecessor in the areas of security and social justice, describing him as a man of humility and vision.
He also has some adjectives for the President Bola Tinubu, alongside his spouse, Senator Oluremi, President of the Gambia, Mr. Adama Barrow, wife of the Vice President, governors from across the 36 states of the Federation, traditional rulers and lawmakers, joined family members of the immediate former President Muhammadu Buhari for presentation of the book written in his honor.
That said, the unveiling of the book.
Before his remarks, President Tinubu leads guests to unveil the book. Titled From Soldier to Statesman, The Legacy of Muhammadu Buhari, the book, authored by a former aide of the late president, x-rays some events that occurred during his government, including the intrigues of power play between his family and those referred to as the cabal.
What was the role of the cabal in shaping the Buhari presidency? Why did they fight his family to a standstill? The answer is in the book. What was the plan of the cabal for the APC presidential primaries before it was thwarted just a few hours before the event? By the way, Mr. President, the cabal wanted somebody else to win that primary. The details are in the book. How was the CBN captured by the cabal? The answer is in the book. Was Buhari's signature forged? Was there a signature stamp? Did somebody else sign his signature? The answer is in the book.
Guests, including the former Director General of the Department of State Services, Mr. Yusuf Bichi, recalled their experiences with the former president.
He was an honest man, a simple man. He cared about people. He was a great soldier and a perfect gentleman. He can be funny and light-hearted.
President Buhari has never and will never, ever ask anybody to rig an election for him. When he assigned us to investigate the petition against the then CBN governor, I went back to him and said, sir, in the course of this investigation, I will step on toes. Then he looked at me, adjusted his seat, and asked me, have I ever asked you or interfered with their job? I said, never, sir. You have not. He said, okay, go. Even if it is Yusuf, you find one thing, deal with him.
The president reflects on his political alliance with his predecessor and some of the pillars of his legacy, emphasizing the need for effective leadership and patriotic citizenship.
Our political journey together taught me that cooperation across differences is not weakness, it is wisdom. Nation building demands that we compete passionately and we compete dispassionately. Govern responsibly. President Muhammadu Buhari understood that the contest ends when the oath begins. In his memory, let us keep our politics honorable and our governance focused on results. Nigeria is greater than any tribe, language, faith, or political party.
The 606-page book, From Soldier to Statesman, The Legacy of Muhammadu Buhari, is divided into 5 parts with 22 chapters. Former President Muhammadu Buhari meant different things for different people. For some, he was a man of integrity, a man who played politics without rancor. But for others, his administration remains one that many Nigerians cannot forget in a hurry. But the author of this book believes that many of the questions that need to be answered are right in here, including the cause of the death of former President Muhammadu Buhari. From the banquet hall of the State House, Abuja, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
And as News Round closes, more details have emerged from the shooting which occurred on Australia's Bondi Beach on Sunday, as the shooters have been identified as a father and son, 50-year-old Sajid Akram and his son Naveed, who is 24 years old. Police confirmed Sajid died at the scene, but Naveed remains in critical condition in the hospital. The shooting targeted Jewish people attending a Hanukkah event. The victims include a 10-year-old girl, a British-born rabbi, a retired police officer, and a Holocaust survivor. 43-year-old Hamid Al-Hamid, a bystander, ran at one of the gunmen and seized his weapon before forcing his retreat. And that's it on News Round. Thank you for watching. I am Bukola Koka. Bye for now.